The day they laughed, I heard the world dice. I was standing in the packed auditorium of the National Botanical Congress, my heart thudding like a drum in a war march. The dean himself, a towering figure in a crisp navy suit, leaned into the microphone, his voice echoing off the marble walls. Dr. Alvarez, your research on Erythrina and Sarracenia * is commendable, but let us be clear. These plants have no market value. They are a romantic folly, a waste of grant money, and frankly, an embarrassment to our department. The crowd erupted in polite applause, but the sting was unmistakable. My name, my years of fieldwork, my sleepless nights in the rainforest, all reduced to a punchline. I felt the eyes of my own family in the front row, their smiles tight, their whispers sharp. In that instant, the future I had imagined crumbled into ash. I left the conference hall with my notebook clutched to my chest, the pages trembling with sketches of vines that could cure malaria, of orchids that whispered anti-inflammatory secrets. The dean's words were a gauntlet, but they also lit a fire under my ribs. I could stay in the ivory tower of academia and watch my dreams die, or I could walk away and prove that the world did need the ridiculous plants I loved. I quit my post the next morning. My parents called it a betrayal. My sister rolled her eyes, calling me a wildflower dreamer who would never pay the bills. The university's email list sent a polite, "We wish you the best," that felt more like a farewell to a ghost. I packed a battered duffel, loaded it with seed banks, field journals, and a single battered laptop, and drove west to the abandoned mining town of San Silo, a place the locals called a desert of broken promises. There, under a sky that stretched forever, I began to cultivate. I turned the cracked earth into raised beds, mixed compost from the town's waste, and sourced seeds of endangered species from remote valleys, Cinchona bark that could fight fevers, Artemisia that held the key to malaria treatment, Rauvolfia that whispered hope for hypertension. The townspeople scoffed. "You're wasting water on weeds," they muttered, shaking their heads as I knelt in the dust. Yet each seed that sprouted felt like a tiny victory against the chorus of doubt. I spent nights in a makeshift lab, extracting alkaloids with a hand-cranked centrifuge, documenting yields on my laptop. The first batch of Cinchona extract was a disappointment, only enough for a handful of tablets. I could have given up then, let the ridicule settle like a stone in my chest. Instead, I remembered the dean's sneer and turned it into fuel. I refined the process, partnered with a small biotech startup that believed in green Pharma, and began to scale. The breakthrough came 3 years later when a batch of Artemisia extract passed clinical trials for a low-cost malaria drug. The news spread like wildfire. Headlines shouted, "Underdog Botanist saves millions of lives." Grants poured in, and with them the resources to expand my sanctuary into a sprawling research farm, over 200 acres of thriving, endangered flora, each plant a living library of medicine. Pharmaceutical giants knocked on my door offering partnerships, but I refused to sell the land. I wanted the medicines affordable, the plants protected, the knowledge shared. The world finally saw the value in what had once been dismissed as a foolish obsession. My name, once a punchline, now appeared on journals, on conference stages, on the packaging of a tablet that cost a fraction of its competitors. The same dean who had ridiculed me invited me to speak at the next Congress, his voice now trembling with humility. The invitation to return home came from an unexpected source. My mother's voice trembling over the phone, "Your brother's son is sick. The doctors say there's no cure. We heard about your work. Can you help?" The words hit me like a tide. I had left the town that raised me with a heart full of hurt, but the thought of a child's life hanging in the balance pulled me back. I arrived in my hometown on a crisp autumn morning, the streets lined with golden leaves, the house I grew up in still standing, its porch swing creaking in the wind. My family gathered in the living room, their faces a mixture of curiosity and lingering shame. My mother, eyes red from years of unshed tears, whispered, "We were wrong." I set up a portable lab in the kitchen, the same one where my mother used to bake bread. My niece Lily sat on the floor clutching a worn-out stuffed rabbit. Her brother Marco lay on the couch, his breathing shallow, his skin pallid. I placed a vial of Rauvolfia extract on the table, the liquid a deep, hopeful green. "Your research saved lives across continents," my father said, voice cracking, "but can it save my son?" I smiled, not with arrogance but with the quiet confidence of someone who had walked through fire. "It will," I said, and began the preparation. The room filled with the scent of fresh herbs, a reminder of the rainforest's breath. I administered the dosage, watching Marco's chest rise and fall, his eyes fluttering as the medicine took hold. Within hours, his fever broke, the color returned to his cheeks, and Lily's laughter burst through the silence, a sound I hadn't heard in years. My family stared at me, the weight of their past derision collapsing under the reality of the miracle before them. My aunt, who had once called my career a joke, whispered, "You were right all along." My brother, who had mocked my wildflower dreams, placed his hand on my shoulder, his eyes glistening. "I'm sorry," he said, the words simple but heavy with years of regret. The scene was more than a medical triumph, it was a reckoning. The same people who had labeled my work a waste now witnessed its power to heal a child they loved. Their faces, once twisted in scorn, softened into awe. The house, once echoing with laughter at my expense, now resonated with gratitude. Standing on the porch that night, the wind rustling the leaves, I felt a peace I had never known in the sterile halls of academia. My journey had taken me from the sting of public humiliation to the quiet triumph of a child's smile. The world had finally recognized the value of the ridiculous plants, and my family finally recognized the value of my perseverance. I realized that the true medicine was not just the compounds I extracted, but the resilience cultivated in the soil of rejection. The ridicule had been a catalyst, the hardship a fertilizer for my resolve. The lesson I carry now and hope to share with anyone who feels dismissed is simple. When the world tells you your dream is foolish, plant it deeper. Let the doubt become the compost that nourishes your growth. As the stars blinked above, I whispered to the night, "Thank you for the fire that forged me." And in the distance, the faint hum of a new seedling breaking through the earth reminded me that every ending is just another beginning, waiting for the right hands to nurture it.